Hey there, it's Kristen with K Design Co. And today I want to show you how you can create a click trigger pop-up form that will allow somebody to enter their email address. You can save their info and download a file or freebie from your website. So I have another video that shows you how to do this where people don't have to enter their email address. This is the version of the video if you want people to give you their contact info so you can save it and follow up with them later. So the key elements that you're going to want to have for this is your Showit website. Obviously, then you're going to want to have your PDF file as well. And then you're also going to want to make sure that you have a email marketing service. Now, the email marketing service that I use and recommend is Mailerlite. The version that I'm on is considered the classic or the legacy version. There's also a newer version. So your version might be a little bit different, but essentially the steps are going to be the same. So what you're going to want to do first is create a form for your pop-up. This is going to be triggered by a link that we will put inside of your Showit site. So let's go ahead and create a pop-up right here. So pop-up name, let's call this click trigger. Maybe the name of your freebie. So we'll call it freebie and then continue. Now, once you make your pop-up, you're going to be prompted to select a group that anybody who signs up for this form will be assigned to. So I'm just going to click a group that I have, but you can always add a new group or specify specifically. You can add multiple groups. I have a ton, so you don't need to select more than one if you just want to put one. So now you're going to want to select your pop-up design. You can use any of the templates that they have as a place to start from. I like to go more minimal with my design, and then you can tweak it from there. I'll probably pick one of these options, the select. It doesn't really matter because, like I said, you can change it completely from the design. So once you get that loaded, you'll be able to tweak it from there. So I actually don't want an image on mine, but if you do want an image, that might actually make it a little bit more eye-catching, but I'm just going to show you a super simple way to get started here. Okay, so you have your design here, and then let's say you can change your content. So grab your freebie now, enter your best email address to get the freebie. Okay. You can obviously make the content a little bit more persuasive and fit whatever it is that you are offering, but for now we'll just stick with that. And then you can change the form background colors to whatever you want. I can go over here to my design settings inside of Showit and pull any of these colors. I actually do have a purple in this design that I'm going to be using as an example. So I'm just going to copy that hex code and then I will overwrite that. So that's similar. And now you may not have the exact fonts be able to pull over into your form, and that's totally okay because usually you can find a free font that looks pretty close. I know that this font actually looks pretty similar to the one that I'm using in this design, so I'm going to go ahead and just tweak the settings till it's about close to how I want it. Now, if you want to change any of the formatting, make sure you're trying to do that over here. I'll make this a little bit larger. And then I also want to copy the styles of the buttons so everything matches on my site. The buttons I'm using are more fully rounded. They have a small little border, so just try to get it as close as possible. Again, it's not going to be a deal breaker if it's not exactly the same, but you do, want to try to get it pretty close. So let's go to, I think this font is close to this one. Then say, you can change the settings to be, as close as possible to, like I said, what you've got going on your site. And now the corners, I want them actually all the way rounded. And then I will also copy my button styles, but you can click on any existing button that you have. So I'm using this kind of light green color on that button, but you can use any of your colors from your design settings. Again, you can reference any of the elements themselves or go back over here to your design settings. So actually might want to go with this kind of darkish brown color. And let's go ahead and add that. And then for my button, I can change that text by clicking that little pencil icon. So instead of get refreshed, I'll say download now. Okay. Now, if you want to add additional fields to this section, you can add name and email. So then it will change the layout so it's kind of more stacked, which I think makes sense. And then I think one other thing that I want to change on my inputs, I actually don't think I want the border color on this one. So I'm going to actually remove the border completely. And if you want to bump up the font size, so it's a little bit more readable. There we go. Okay, let's say that's good enough for now. So now that I got my pop-up box, I'm going to go over here to success. And then this is where you change the content of what they see after they submit. So let's say check your inbox to download your freebie now. Woohoo. Okay, so make that personalized to them. You can tell them what next steps they have, but essentially that's going to be good for now. So we have our pop-up now. We're going to go to next. Now on this page, you're going to see some settings that will allow you to target specific behaviors or visibility settings for your pop-up. But since we are trying to create a click trigger specific pop-up, we don't want the pop-up to just show on the page whenever or based on somebody's behavior on the site unless they specifically click a certain button. So we want to actually adjust the settings of this to hide the pop-up on every instance unless it is triggered. So go ahead and check that there is basically no visibility for this pop-up. And then on the next page, we're going to define the click action for how it will show on your page. And then just go to next, because I'm going to show you what we're going to do instead here. So once you have created your button, and you scroll down, you'll actually be presented with two codes that you can install on your website, and this will help it load. So one of the things that you need to do in order to get any pop-up using Mailerlite on your website is to install a universal tracking script. So what you're going to want to do is copy this entire code, the universal tracking script, go to your Showit site, and then under site settings, you're going to go down here to integrations, and then you're going to add a custom code. And then on that custom code, you can type Mailerlite Universal. So this will allow you to load the code onto any page of your site, and it's tied to your site canvas sets, which site canvas sets are like groups of canvases that appear on multiple pages of your site. So once you have clicked head HTML, then you're going to paste that universal code inside of your, and then you're going to rename, sorry, it took away my name, Mailerlite Universal. Okay, so we have that, save and close. Okay, so now that we have the universal code set, what you're going to do is go over here to the pop-up click event set. So a couple of the things that you need to do for your pop-up besides the universal code is you need to copy and paste this code, which is a script that tells it exactly which form you're wanting to show. So we have that. And I always add that up here in my top of my page. If you go to the page tab and then click resources, under advanced settings, there's another place where you can add code to your page specifically. So we don't necessarily need to load this form on every page, just this page that we're wanting. So go ahead and add that there under your head HTML. And then one last step to load a code is we need this code right here. So this is the click or the link that will trigger the pop-up form. So right here you can see that I have already formatted my button text the way that I want. So a shortcut that you can do rather than having to recreate this entirely is keep the same text box and just hit Option if you are on a Mac or Alt on a Windows and double click, and you'll be able to open the text box editor in the HTML format. So I'm going to paste that code that we just had from Mailerlite, and then instead of the click here to show pop-up, I will just replace that with the text. So just make sure you don't delete any of the code syntax besides the text that's inside these little alligator brackets. And then once you hit save, you'll actually notice that now you can see the styles changed a little bit, and that's because I basically added a link to this text, whereas before it was just static text. Now, if you want to adjust the style so it looks more like the other buttons, like not having an underline and make sure the color is the same, you can always tweak the settings for the formatting over here. Now we're going to test that our code actually works and that the pop-up form is triggered when we click this download button. So one thing to double check, make sure that when you select your text box or element that you are trying to create the click trigger on, that there's no link assigned to it, and that it just says none up here. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. You can't set a link and at the same time have the click trigger action assigned like I just showed you in the HTML editor. So once you have that, double check that, and then I'm going to pop this out into a larger screen just so I can see a little bit better. And when we click this, it should pop up our freebie trigger. So you can see that worked lovely. And now when somebody enters in their information, we should see the success email. So that, woohoo, it looks like it worked. So this is step one to getting your click trigger pop-up to work on your Showit website. The next video that I create, which I will link to, will show you exactly how to create that follow-up email automation that's assigned to the group that you assigned this form to so that somebody actually gets the PDF sent to them in their email. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let me know which video you'd like to see next.